Hello, today I've got some snippets of video which I took at a National Trust property in Cornwall called Trice, and then a sketch I did based on a photo which I took here. Trice is an Elizabethan manor house which was built in the 1570s. It's only about 25 minutes from my home, but I didn't even know it existed until recently when a friend put some pictures of it on Facebook. The National Trust took over ownership of it in the 1950s, though a family still lived in one of the wings until 1965. And I really liked the house because a lot of it was still set up as kind of a livable house rather than something too grand to imagine living in.
It was swanky. We are vaguely related to them, and they've got the Order of the Garter.
My husband and I had a nice time just mooching around it anyway and looking at whatever we fancied, like this beautiful illustrated calligraphy piece. This was outside the back of the house, and some of the outbuildings. It's just a lovely autumn day. At the side of the house there was a lovely ornamental garden, and this is where I took a photo which I paint later. There are also lots of heritage apple trees around the property as well, and it was lovely seeing all the old Cornish varieties. This is the lavender knot garden. The pretty path on our way out. And then on our way home we had to drive through a ford, which I always find great fun. Back at home I decided to do a splodge and scribble painting using my deep light watercolours and this size 8 Princeton Neptune brush. I'm painting in a Khadi Fat Book, and this is my reference photo. The Khadi Fat Book is 100% cotton, but it's quite thin pages. It goes quite crinkly, but I find it really fun to work on. I just want this to be a really quick painting. I've hurt my back and I can't sit for very long, so a splodge and scribble painting seems a good idea. So I just start off by loosely splodging on paint in roughly the right areas. This blue is a lovely mix from deep light called Forget-Me-Not. And then I'm just doing the very rough shape of the house. I'll keep a bit of the painting in real time so you can see kind of how minimal it is. I'm really not aiming for any great masterpiece here. I've finished all of my paint splodge layer now, and here I just make a note of all the paints which I used. So as I said, the light blue is Forget-Me-Not, then we've got Reed Buff, and the yellowy one is Burgundy Yellow Ochre. Then this one is Ultramarine Rose, a great dark purple called Bilberry. Then I really think that Deep Deep Light's got some great greens. The bright one is called Masher's Green, and this is Solstice Fern, Forest Green, and then we've got the lovely dark Asphalt, Burnt Sienna, then Meadow Green, and finally Bark. I then get on with the scribble pot of my Splodge Scribble, and I'm using a Lamy Safari fountain pen with platinum carbon black ink in it, which is waterproof. That's important because sometimes I do go back in with another watercolour layer afterwards. And my Lamy Safari has got a medium-sized nib. So now all I'm doing is outlining my main paint areas. I haven't got any pencil lines, so I'm not being too precious about where the ink's going or expecting it to be perfect. You might also be able to see that I'm holding the fountain pen quite far back, and I'm holding it quite loosely so that I don't get too kind of uptight with my lines. This method for me really is about just the enjoyment of using my watercolours and creating the impression of somewhere that I've been. After I've done my ink lines, I feel like I want to add some oil pastel, so I get out my Caran Neopastels and add in some extra detail. I could have gone over some of these parts with a little bit more watercolour, but for some of the areas I wanted to use lighter over my darker areas, and that's easier to do with an oil pastel. So like I said before, it's not a great work of art, but it definitely scratched the itch I had to play around with watercolour a little bit, in a quick and fun way. And I'm quite happy with how it turned out as a record of my trip to Trice. I hope you enjoyed this anyway, and thank you for watching. Bye!